This episode is brought to you by eBay Live. First, you're just watching eBay Live. Then, a Fendi baguette goes for an absolute steal. A 90s NASCAR jacket comes up, and you have to bid. That winning feeling, it's such a rush. Because you know everyone else wanted it too. Meanwhile, on eBay Live, you don't just watch the action, you're in it. Download the eBay app to stream and shop live. eBay Live. Things people love.
And now, your daily dose of debate, breaking news, and uncensored views. This is the Michael Medved Show.
And another great day in this greatest nation on God's green earth. A great big news day with some great big questions out there on the table. Will Senator McConnell, Mitch McConnell, will he resign? He has a couple of months left in his Senate term. He hasn't been seen for, 60 days now. And it's a very, very real problem. Should he resign? The governor of Kentucky, who does not, by the way, get to appoint a replacement for Senator McConnell, who only has a couple of months left of his term anyway. But the governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, who himself is a potential candidate for president for 2028, he has sent out a letter demanding that Mitch McConnell verbally address constituents and demonstrate his ability to serve or else resign his seat. It's a blunt letter. It could be effective. Should it be effective? I do think that the situation that Mitch McConnell is stuck in right now, given the mysteries about his health status at age 84, I think that there really does need to be some kind of shift and some kind of openness that he hasn't displayed so far to talking about his very personal situation. Meanwhile, will Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, face some kind of arrest or detention or interference? He will certainly be seeing some demonstrations against him. He is in New York. He's actually in Washington, D.C., to honor his late friend, Lindsey Graham. And Lindsey Graham was a great friend, not just of Prime Minister Netanyahu, but of the Jewish people and of the state of Israel as well. And it's one of the reasons that you have Bibi Netanyahu making the trip when he did. But will things go smoothly and honorably without disruption at the Lindsey Graham funeral services? We will find out about that. Graham, of course, died on July 11th, completely suddenly, at the age of 71. So you look at that compared to the age of President Trump, who is 80, and Senator McConnell, who is 84. It shows you just how vulnerable our political system is to the realities of life and death. And will socialism transform the Democratic Party? That a question very much on the table, and a reason to believe that it already has. And what does that transformation mean? We will get to that. We'll be talking to Matt Lewis, who has another question, which is, can somebody like him, who is a self-described never Trump Republican and conservative, somebody who is Republican and conservative but has never supported Trump, why does he struggle over the idea of shifting his support to Marco Rubio, who used to be a mainstream Republican, a dream candidate? We'll be speaking to Matt Lewis about that and about the future of the Republican Party and its leadership and its candidate for president? Is it a done deal that it has to be J.D. Vance? And there's another major Trump speech. This time, no jokes. No jokes in this speech at all. Just a lot of lies. We will get to that. It is actually in good and impressive supply, the distortions of the truth. Meanwhile, Canadian travel to the U.S. fell 25% last year. This according to a new Canadian government report, which says early 2026 data show the decline has persisted. Do you think this could have something to do, some relationship to President Trump's continued talk against Canada and suggesting that Canada isn't a real country and only becomes a real country if it becomes our 51st state, or is that our 52nd state after Greenland? Or is that our 53rd state after Greenland and Venezuela? President Trump has more to say about Venezuela. Meanwhile, the President of the United States is facing a brand new threat from Iran. They are putting out calls on people who support the Shiite Muslim point of view, who support the pro-terrorist, pro-Islamist point of view of the Iranian government, to take matters into their own hands and to assassinate. Not President Trump. They've been talking about that for a long time. They now want people to go after Melania Trump with pictures of her and information about the stores she functions and where she travels in New York City. The other target they're announcing is Barron Trump, the youngest son of President Trump, and someone who is also now depicted as a target by our Iranian enemies. On the other side of things, President Trump is getting set to welcome the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And it's just coincidence that Zelensky is coming the same time as the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, coming to the White House today for separate meetings. They're stressing that, expected to focus on the conflicts in Ukraine and in the Middle East. The Israeli leader will be trying to steady a relationship that has grown visibly strained as the war with Iran drags on. That is what CNN is reporting. Then CNBC reports concerning Zelensky. Ukraine Zelensky is holding talks with President Trump on today, Tuesday. And the meeting comes as the U.S. war against Iran and Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine have threatened to overlap. The Senate is set to vote today in the evening on advancing a bipartisan sanctions package targeting Russia and countries that continue buying Russian energy. Ukraine on Saturday launched an attack on an Iranian commercial vessel in the Caspian Sea. The Islamic Republic of Iran has now threatened retaliation against Ukraine over this strike. Meanwhile, what do we know about the suspects in the Seattle shooting that occurred on Sunday evening? The suspects, one of them is dead. One of them is arrested and identified, and one of them is on the run. That, according to the Seattle Times. Apparently, it was not just two people firing at each other. It was three. And at least three people opened fire in the crowd on Sunday evening. One of them is named Simo, a 19-year-old who was killed, and the other is a 15-year-old boy who was arrested at the scene, police say. There's more, which we will get to coming up on the Medved Show. And on the Michael Medved Show, remember at the very beginning of the show, we talked about this stunning news, I think it is stunning, that Canadians have stopped traveling to the United States. They don't feel safe here. Maybe they don't feel welcome here. But the Canadian travel to the U.S. fell 25% last year. And then there is this. Monday morning, a shooter fired at the U.S. consulate in Toronto, the largest city in Canada, of course. That happened Monday morning, police said. The second time this year, somebody shot at the American consulate. No one was injured in the incident, but a single shell casing was found, and there was damage to the building's facade. Toronto Deputy Chief Frank Barreto said a high-speed chase ensued that lasted an hour, but that no arrest was made. This guy who was shooting at the American consulate got away? That's not good. He vowed that this is the deputy chief of police, but he vowed that the search for the perpetrator or perpetrators would continue. And then, again, just to make it clear that it's not just America and our closest neighbor that have problems like this, there is this headline, a Nigeria attack. Gunmen attacked a community in northwestern Nigeria, killing at least 30 people and injuring several others, residents said yesterday. In the latest violence in the conflict-hit region, the attack occurred late Sunday night in the Naridan village in Kaduna State's Kaura Council area. They said that that was announced by Derek Christopher, chair of the civil society group Southern Kaduna Peace and Security Network. That network isn't delivering peace and security, or much of it, to the nation of Nigeria, which I believe it has the highest population of any nation on the continent of Africa. Meanwhile, the governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, who is a popular Democratic governor in a Republican state, he demanded that a Republican senator, Mitch McConnell, who is a senator representing Kentucky, as he has been for 40 years, the demand is that Senator McConnell verbally address constituents and demonstrate his ability to serve, or else resign his seat. In a blunt letter sent to the senator and his staff, the big picture, this is reported by Axios, says that it's been more than 40 days since the 84-year-old conservative stalwart McConnell has appeared outside of pictures released by his office after being hospitalized. And we now know that the hospitalization also involved a fall and some kind of injury. But we don't know anything much more about the state of his health. His lengthy absence and past health scares are fueling speculation about his capacity to serve. Beshear said in his letter that it was also being sent to Senate Majority Leader John Thune, a Republican of South Dakota, whom Beshear urged to investigate McConnell's capacity to serve. I understand anyone's desire for privacy, wrote Governor Beshear, but when you run for office and you end up serving as one of the state's 2 U.S. senators, you willingly abdicate much of your personal privacy, the letter said. That's the deal. We all know it when we run. Bashir concluded the letter, all of this speculation and even this letter could have been avoided with a minimal amount of transparency, adding, Kentuckians are just asking you to be honest. And then there is another bit of news that Senator Mitch McConnell, the former Republican leader from Kentucky, who has been hospitalized for 6 weeks, said yesterday that he would not be returning to the Senate this week as lawmakers work toward their August recess. In a statement from his office, McConnell, who's 84, also said that he would not be at this Saturday's Fancy Farm, which is a big tradition in Kentucky. It's an annual state political picnic that he has attended without fail for more than 40 years and is a must for politicians from Kentucky. Must or what? Or he gets ready for a resignation, which would provoke a special election in Kentucky, which is a complicated matter when you have a governor involved who is making serious noises about running for president of the United States. It's all a little bit complicated and problematic. There is also this for the news about Seattle. One of them, Samo, is a 19-year-old who was killed. This is the shooters who opened fire at a crowd at the Taste of Seattle Food Festival on Sunday evening. 3 people died, one of them one of the shooters, whose name is Samo. He was a 19-year-old. Another is a 15-year-old boy who was taken up. He was arrested. The boy surrendered, did not fight the police when they captured him at the scene. It is believed that they were somehow associates, though investigators have not determined the exact nature of their relationship. The 15-year-old is being held for investigation on 3 counts of first-degree assault and 1 count of illegally possessing a firearm. The teen waived his presence in court on Monday in Seattle, where Superior Court Judge Tanya Thorpe ruled that he will remain in secure detention pending an arraignment, which is expected on Thursday. So coming right up. Meanwhile, there is a great deal of information and controversy that has actually sprung up around the private diaries of Anthony Fauci. Remember him? Anthony Fauci is in his 80s now, but he is a center of attention with congressional hearings pending. We will get to that and to more coming up on the MedVet Show.
Looking for a protein shake that tastes as good as it performs? Meet Rockin' Protein Max. Packed with 50 grams of fuel, it'll help you keep up when your day won't slow down. And because it's always creamy and never chalky, every sip tastes great. Even better, it's lactose-free and has 0 added sugar. It's not every day you find a protein shake you actually want to finish. Catch Rockin' Protein in the dairy cooler at a store near you. Rockin' Protein and Shamrock Farms are registered trademarks of Shamrock Foods Company.
And all of a sudden, there is new fuss on Fauci. Yes, remember him, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who was considered by many people a hero during the early stages of the pandemic, and then attracted a great deal of criticism and hostility as well. The private reflections of Anthony Fauci in a private diary are now available and creating more controversy and leading to upcoming Senate hearings chaired by Senator Rand Paul, who has been on this story and attacking Dr. Fauci for years, literally. The private reflections in his private diary became public over the weekend just passed, when Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, released more than 1,100 pages of Dr. Fauci's typewritten daily notes as part of his investigation into whether the virus might have leaked from a laboratory and whether, as Senator Paul claims, Dr. Fauci lied to Congress about it. The diary does not provide the smoking gun the senator is seeking, so says Sheryl Stolberg of the New York Times. Rather, it echoes past disclosures showing Dr. Fauci wrestling with a fast-moving crisis as scientists' views evolved, but it further inflames a polarizing political battle over the origins of the virus and how history should treat Dr. Fauci. Is this a deep concern of the majority of Americans who, I think, consider it a blessing that we have worked out vaccines that appear to be effective and that the COVID-19 panic is in the rearview mirror? This also paints a portrait of Dr. Fauci concerning the excerpts from his diary, more than 1,000 pages of it, that he was obsessed with himself, reveling in his own importance and in the celebrities he knows, from the actress Julia Roberts to the singers Joan Baez and Barbra Streisand. It shows as well the pressure he was under as he became the public face of the government's response, while at the same time countering what he called slanderous lies about him spread by extreme right-wing elements of society. That's Fauci's term. And on Wednesday, today, actually tomorrow, let's be accurate, on Wednesday, Dr. Fauci is scheduled to testify under subpoena before the Senate Homeland Security Committee, which is chaired by Senator Rand Paul. Although Dr. Fauci received a preemptive pardon from former President Joseph Biden, Senator Rand Paul has repeatedly referred him to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution. What he wrote privately, writes Rand Paul, and what he told the country are two different stories, the senator wrote on the social media platform X. I do think that with all of the problems right now that are life and death challenges for the country, the idea of a retroactive focus on the 85-year-old, now fully retired Dr. Fauci is tough to justify. And then again, there is President Trump, speaking of tough to justify. He made a visit to Michigan. Michigan, of course, one of the key swing states that decides the presidency in recent elections. And he made a visit to the plant of General Motors. And President Trump had this to say about why we're doing so much better than Europe in his estimation. This is clip 16.
And we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars for the country aside from it, but we keep a lot. As an example, Europe is being taken over by the Chinese cars. You know that, right? Mercedes-Benz is being absolutely decimated. BMW, good companies, decimated. Volkswagen, decimated. They don't do anything about it. We don't have, to the best of my knowledge, Mary, one Chinese car in the country. They have 100% tariff, and our automakers are doing I think, business like you've never done before, right? Right? You're doing more business, better business, bigger business than you've ever done before. In 18 months, we've slashed our trade deficit with China by the largest amount in history. Nobody can believe it. You know, if you get it down a half a point, it's a lot. We got our trade deficit down by 71%. 71%.
Okay, again, there's been lots of criticism about his focus on the trade deficit because it's not usually a measure of particular economic health. But there was a disruptor, a protester who interrupted President Trump's speech, and it sounded like this with the president's response. Clip 15.
And companies were coming in and just robbing us blind, and it was causing tremendous problems for your jobs. But now all of that is changing because I placed historic tariffs on foreign producers and manufacturers, including a 25% tariff on foreign automobiles, something that no other president had the courage to ever do. He's a communist. He's a communist.
Yeah, the crowd answering
Thank
USA.
you. He's a communist. We're running against communists. Now, this is great. What's going on? We're going to win very big. No, I didn't even hear the guy, I think. I don't know.
Okay, what he was chanting about the protester was he's a pedophile protector, and he's a pedophile protector. How does President Trump know he's a communist? Or is there the assumption that the only one who would be critical of the history of President Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is somebody who would be what they used to call a card-carrying communist? Coming up, we have some further Trump audio, well, including his use of a new word that he is popularizing for the English language. The word is mutilize. Yeah, you can mutilate somebody or something, but how do you mutilize? You can mutilize, I guess, the English language if you want. But we will be hearing what it is Trump has in mind coming up on the Medved Show.
Listeners love Michael Medved.
I listen to you occasionally when I'm driving. It turns my stomach every time I do. Lately, you've been sounding like a raving lunatic. You upset me so much. You never tell the truth.
I truly believe you're delusional.
You don't have a clue.
You're wrong again.
What's going on in your head?
You are no good for the country.
People like you who are a monster. Have you no shame?
The Michael Medved Show. Join in your daily dose of debate.
I listen to you occasionally when I'm driving. It turns my stomach every time I do.
The Michael Medved Show.
And on the Michael Medved Show, President Trump is trying to resuscitate the word communist as a description of anyone who is critical of him on any issue, particularly people who would have the rudeness to interrupt a president of the United States with the charge of being a pedophile protector, which is not one of those charges that is the worst or most damning thing you can say about President Trump or the most accurate thing you can say about President Trump. What you can say about him is that he is definitely determined to talk about the transgender revolutions and transgender issues and to talk about those issues in a very passionate and one-sided ways. This is President Trump talking about the mutilization of our children. This is clip 14.
No men in women's sports, and no transgender surgery, and the mutilization of your children. They mutilize your children.
Okay, mutilate is the word, I think, and he's concerned about using government force to prevent the mutilation of your children. He also stuck in, and this is his speech in Michigan, where he was speaking to people working in the car industry at General Motors, and President Trump saw it fit to attack his distinguished and popular Republican predecessor, Ronald Reagan. What's he attacking Reagan for? Here he explains, clip 13.
This land bears the tire marks of every model of the legendary Chevy Corvette. It bears the scars of the first auto safety test, and that was probably pretty tough. And ever since the presidency of the late, great Ronald Reagan, who in all fairness, who I liked, but he did allow our cars to disappear into Japan and other locations. We cannot do it. We love him. But on trade, Trump is much better. Much better.
Basically, Trump is much better because Trump is trying to interfere with, regulate, top down, and use government power to impact our trade, including our private trade. Well, that doesn't prevent Trump from claiming that he has done more for all of us than even our closest relatives. Now, this is a new one, I think, and it's fairly extraordinary. This is clip 12. Listen.
Yeah, Mary, I hate to say it, you wouldn't have an auto industry right now if they got elected. You wouldn't have an auto industry. But I don't know what happened to the guy. Somebody said he got fired, but I can tell you, the people that count, those people love Trump. Because I've done more for you than your parents, okay? Your parents are good. I'm not going to knock your parents, but I have been better to you than your parents. That I can tell you. And they would agree with me. Wherever they may be, they would agree.
Okay, they would agree. And this is after he has talked about how the European brands are destroyed, that American brands of cars, actually Mercedes is popular as a top luxury brand in the U.S. It sells about 325,000 passenger vehicles every year. And the idea that President Trump wants to limit the number of Japanese cars that are exported to the United States, given the tremendous popularity of those cars. And it's not just Toyota, and it's not just Nissan and Toyota. It's Nissan and Toyota and Subaru. And then, of course, you have, Hyundai is a Korean brand of car. But the idea of taking away people's freedom of choice, is that a conservative value? By stating the 9 most terrifying words in the English language, and he said this all the time. The 9 most terrifying words in the English language, President Reagan used to say, are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you, or I'm here to help. He used this phrase often to criticize big government, of federal intervention, and bureaucracy, which shows how different he is from Donald Trump, because intervention in private business dealings is the very essence of having the President of the United States, often on a whimsical basis, determine the level of tariffs and dealing with other countries and other economies that are also successful and powerful and profitable. And then President Trump added this about what was making him a little bit upset. This is also notable. Clip 11.
Greatest economy in the history of the country. And we're blowing it away this time. We're blowing it away. You're going to see the results very soon. I'm a little bit upset because in 2.5 years, you may have a different president. May. And that president will be saying how great the economy is doing. Look at all the jobs that he produced. He didn't approve. We have more factories being built than at any time in our country's history. They're all going to be opening now and soon. And I got some guy or woman who is going to take credit for that. Will you please remember that I did it, okay? I did it. I did it. I'll be sitting home. I'll be reading the papers. I'll be watching television. And I'll be having some guy like last time, a real idiot, stand up, say, we are doing record business. We are making more automobiles. But by the way, don't worry about it, Mary. They'll screw it up. It won't take them long to screw it up.
Okay, this is very peculiar, is it not? Meanwhile, CNN's Caitlin Collins said on air that she was not surprised that the president, Donald J. Trump, insulted her during his speech Friday at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. During an appearance on The Daily Show on Monday, Caitlin Collins, who serves as CNN's chief White House correspondent, debriefed the event and what she just experienced with Jon Stewart. Listen, sounds like this.
In terms of my reaction, I've always felt this. Mm-hmm. Regardless of who's the president, whether it's Joe Biden, Donald Trump, those are the two I've covered. It's really not about me. And I don't want it to be about my reaction. And so I think if you let it become about that, then it becomes a back and forth between the two of us. And instead, I think it's more effective to remind people in those moments when he is insulting me or when he is criticizing me, about the question I asked or the reporting that I did that he was so angry about in this moment, and the fact that I got an award for it really bothered him clearly. And so I just think in those moments, it's important to put the reminder back on the work, on the question, and on the non-answers that we get.
Okay, that's actually trying to look beyond the fact that President Trump criticized her for not smiling. That she's a very attractive woman, but she's not smiling. And does that have a feminist ring to it? Not so much. Meanwhile, speaking of a ring to it and the future, and President Trump's comment that people may have to get used to the idea of some other president, should that other president be named Marco Rubio? Matt Lewis is a longtime Marco Rubio fan, but he asked a question. Is Marco Rubio still the guy he once was now that he has become part of the Trump inner circle? What does a never-Trump Republican do about a potential Rubio candidacy? That and more coming up in this greatest nation on God's green earth.